I'm an artist and a clinical psychologist, and I'm very interested in the ways in which art and trauma and creativity intersect, in the ways in which that art changes spaces and the way people see and experience themselves in different environments. And I'm really interested in hearing your responses tonight to the work. So I would love to hear your questions, what you liked, what you didn't like even. I really am interested in that too. Anything that comes to you, any thoughts that you have in response to the work would be really helpful to me, because I don't really always get to hear what it means. And the thing about these public projects is that they go on for a long period of time after I've left. So the part that I'm most familiar with is how it got made and the stories and the context, which is something I'm really trying very hard to make accessible in more interesting ways in terms of video, websites, social media, and all those wonderful technologies. When I was growing up, we didn't have answering machines, so this is sort of like a brave new world for me. But it's a very interesting story. In 2004, I was in Palestine, and I was waiting for a permit to go to Gaza, which is like waiting for Godot, kind of. And I waited and waited. And then I had a friend, Kate Raphael, who was working with the International Women's Peace Service in Salfit, and she said, "You want to meet the Amr family? Maybe they would like a mural, and maybe you'd be able to work with them." And I have heard about them. They're kind of famous because they're surrounded by the wall on 4 sides. And in the front of their house is the concrete wall, and they're surrounded on the 3 other sides by chain link fence with, it's electrified, so if you touch it, it signals the Israeli military that they've touched it, and barbed wire. And then in the back of their property is Elkanah settlement, a Jewish-only settlement. So I was excited to meet them, and I went to meet them with Eric Drucker, who's a graphic artist who lives in the Bay Area now. Maybe you know of his work. He's wonderful. And the kids were so excited to see us. They hadn't had visitors in 8 months because the Israeli army wouldn't let them have visitors, and they threatened to tear down their house if they had any visitors. And they had just recently gotten a key to their gate. They had to lock themselves in and out of their own prison cell, basically. There was a documentary done by Israeli television, and the commander in the area was very offended. And he went to the family and he said, "How could you say such terrible things about us? We've been very good to you." So they said, "Well, you know, you haven't been very good to us, and we don't even have a key to the gate." So that's how they got a key to the gate, so they could lock themselves in and out. Before that, they had to call the army if they wanted to leave or enter their own house and property. So we painted with the family in 2004, and they invited all their friends, and it was a very, kind of subversive thing. The settlers watched us. The army pulled up in their patrol cars and watched us paint, and the kids were very excited. And we worked also with some anti-Zionist Israeli activists, Jewish Israeli activists, and we got to the gate, and the army didn't want to let us in, and it took 20 minutes for them to process us. And they said that they needed to protect us from the family. I don't know what. So finally they did let us in, and the kids went crazy, and they just painted wildly, and Eric painted this great bird, that phoenix bird. And then I went back and I visited the family after the Israeli army kicked us out. So we painted for about 6 hours, and then they had enough and they made us leave. And the next day I came back and I talked to the family, and they were very excited about the project. And then a few weeks later I went back again because I had this wonderful grant from the Palestinian American Research Center. And I said, "Well, what has this meant for you?" And they said, "Well, when are you coming back to finish?" So I said, "Well, okay, we'll come back next year." So the following year, we went back to finish the sky. And again, the same kind of thing. We worked with a lot of local organizations, Flowers Against the Occupation, and different organizations, and painted the sky. And after a number of hours, the soldiers made us leave. This time, they said it was because what we were doing was too provocative for the settlers who live in Elkanah settlement, and it had to do with the fact that the settlers were being forced to leave Gaza, and then our painting was too provocative and hard for them to take, or something like that. And what they did was they threatened to take the key away from the family if we didn't leave immediately. So we left, and Hani Amr said that he was devastated by this because he had friends visiting, and the thought of telling people that are visiting you that you have to leave was just beyond his. It was completely the most horrible thing for him to do, and he was so upset that he had to ask us to leave. He also said that the mural project had really affected his children in these very positive ways, that they were able to go outside and play after being very afraid of the settler children. And the settlers, they would throw things at them. They were very violent with them, with the Amr family. But he said after painting the mural that the kids would go outside and play. He also said that they remembered who painted each part of the mural. It was very important that people had, I learned a lot from this project. It was very important to them that people had come from all over the world to work with them and visit them. The Amr family was a place where there was a lot of protesting against the building of the apartheid wall. And many of those protesters were deported, arrested, and basically the movement, stopped at that location. It has gone on in others, but Hani said that the Israeli army said to him, well, you may as well give up because everybody's been deported and they're in jail and nobody cares about you anymore and nobody is going to come and visit you anymore. So he said it's very important that people keep coming and painting the mural and visiting us and that people aren't forgetting about us. And I just learned a lot about solidarity, actually, from the project. So in 2011, I went back and saw them. It had been a number of years, and the mural was very faded. And I went with another project, the Maya Mural Brigade, and we went to visit the family, the Amr family, and they said, well, we don't want the mural anymore, actually. We want you to paint it out. And I said, really? And they said, yes. They said, things have changed. We feel differently now. Our kids are grown up. It doesn't mean the same thing. And here's, it's just this, mural that's like trying to make this horrible atrocity look nice, and we don't want it. So I got gallons of white paint and some rollers, and there's a picture of Hani Amr rolling out the mural. And they said, well, we want to leave the bird. So they left the phoenix. The phoenix is still there. And they said, now what we want is for people to come and write poetry against the occupation on the wall. So that's the ongoing story of this project. And I'm hoping to be able to be a part of that next phase of the poetry. Is that